What if I told you that a negative review could actually be the secret to doubling your sales? When most coaches receive criticism, they make the mistake of panicking, shutting down their offers, or starting to question their worth. But that's the wrong way of handling negative feedback. And if you learn how to handle it the right way, you'll begin to build trust, sharpen your program and your offers, and make yourself more money. And today, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. So let's jump into it. Have you ever launched a product or service that just felt like your baby? It's like you wanted to help people in this arena and you were just so passionate about it. You spent so much time putting it together, crafting this message, crafting this transformation, and you finally launch it to the world, right? And you're so excited. You think everybody's going to be like, this is the best product on the market. And you're met with two obstacles. One, either people don't buy, or two, people buy and they don't share that same excitement that you had about your program. Some people might even be bold and they'll leave you a negative review. And in these moments, it's so easy to give into negative thoughts, right? So we'll have thoughts like, am I way over my head? Do I really have what it takes to, build out this coaching program or help people in this area? Am I stupid for even trying? Am I stupid for even thinking that I can do this? And what we'll likely do is we'll shut down the offer, we'll stop selling it. And for some people, you might even take it a step further and shut down your entire business and try something else. But in this episode, my goal is to help you transform your mindset. I want you to understand that failure is a part of the process. Negative reviews is a part of the process, and you have to get comfortable with learning things through trial and error. You have to be willing to put things out there into the world and for people to have negative opinions and negative reactions about it. You have to learn how to refine your offer, adjust your offer, and tweak your offer so that it caters to your ideal client and it becomes the perfect thing for them. You have to understand that perfection is not something that happens overnight. Perfection is something that happens over time, and you have to be willing to start your journey with something that's not perfect. Start your journey with something that feels unappealing, something that seems awful to your client, and actually listen to them so that you can make the proper adjustments and make this the best thing and something that they're knocking down your door to have. So instead of saying things like coaching isn't for me or this product doesn't work, I want you to start changing your language. And I want you to ask yourself, how can I refine my offer to make this the best product that my client is searching for? And the first way to do this is by determining, is the problem your product or is the problem your client? I know this sounds crazy, but hear me out. You cannot make the proper changes if you don't understand what needs to be adjusted. And so the first thing that you have to do is you have to observe the whole picture, right? You have to observe your offer and you also have to observe your client to determine what is the problem and also in what ways is this the problem. So for example, I recently saw a TikTok video of somebody who was selling a study guide to help real estate agents get their license. And when I opened the comment section, there was someone in their comments and they basically said, I bought this real estate guide, right? And it did not work for me. I still failed my real estate exam. Don't buy this product. Now, a lot of people would look at this comment and they would be like, oh, wow, this is, a negative review. I shouldn't buy. Maybe this thing doesn't work. But the thought that came into my head is that I wanted to know more about the picture, right? I wanted to know, how long did this person have this real estate guide before they went and they took their real estate exam? How many hours did this person spend studying this real estate guide before they went out to take this real estate exam? I wanted to know, did this person actually give this product a real chance to work? So bringing this full circle, sometimes when things do not work or we are not satisfied with a product, we are so quick to put the blame on the product, especially if you are in the coaching industry, right? But sometimes the problem is not the product. Sometimes we are not consistent enough, we don't have the work ethic, and we are not putting in enough effort for this product to work on us. We have to work the product in order for the product to work us. And that is why I feel like if you come across a negative review for your offer, you need to determine what is the problem. Is the problem the product, or is the problem my client? And the best way to do this is that every single time that you receive a negative review, I want you to reach out to that client and ask for a one-on-one call. And on this call, I want you to ask thoughtful and intentional questions that will help you understand why this product didn't work for them and why they feel unsatisfied with it. Now, when you do this, you want to make sure that you are not coming off defensive, right? You don't want to have an attitude of like, this is all your fault. My product is the best thing in the world, you feel me? And you're just the problem. Don't do that, right? Because you're going to put them on defense mode where they're not going to feel vulnerable enough to open up to you and be real with you. So when you approach this person on the one-on-one call, you want to make sure that you are coming to them with genuine concern and wanting to understand them, right? You want to understand, where did everything go wrong? And as they start opening up to you, really pay attention to what they're saying. Sometimes they might say things like there just wasn't enough information in, your program. They might say things like you didn't really elaborate and I got confused on this step. And that will show you that the problem is your product, right? But then other times they may say things like, well, I only did the course, or I only did, the information you gave me for 2 days before I stepped out and tried and I failed, right? Or they might say things like, I skipped steps. I watched lessons 1 through 5, then I skipped lessons 6 through 8, and then I jumped to lesson 10. So then that will show you, okay, the problem is not the product. The problem is the client and the process that they use to go about getting this result. Now, let's say that you use this strategy and you do determine that the problem is your client. Even though the problem is your client, you can still use this feedback to tweak things in your offer. So let's go back to the TikTok that I saw of someone selling a real estate study guide. And let's say that person, they talked to this client and they realized that this client only used the study guide for 5 days before they went and they took their real estate exam, right? Now they know in their head that you need to use this study guide for at least 30 days in order for you to see results. So maybe they can use this as feedback and, how to tweak their marketing and tweak their messaging, where maybe they'll go on their sales page and they'll add that on their sales page. So they'll tell people up front, you have to use this product for 30 days in order for it to work for you. So even if you determine that the problem was the client, you still can use that feedback and how to make your offer better for the next person who comes across it. The second thing that you want to do is you want to count how many negative reviews that you are getting, right? So if you are only getting a few negative reviews, or you're getting some here and there, then strategy 1 that we talked about, with having one-on-one calls with your client, will work the best for you. But if you notice that the mass majority of your clients are leaving negative feedback, then that is a clear sign that you don't need to do strategy number 1. The problem is not your client. The problem is your offer. So in this type of situation, the first thing that you want to do is you want to examine the framework that you are using, right? You want to ask yourself, is your framework something that is repeatable? Meaning anybody can follow this and they will see results, meaning they can use this framework multiple times and they will see results. It's repeatable. It's not based on luck. It's not a one-time success. It is something that people can use consistently and multiple times in order to see a result. If you notice that most of your clients cannot replicate your framework, right? Then you want to ask yourself, how can I adjust this framework so that it delivers consistent results for a wider range of people? And if you don't know how to do this, check out the link in my description next to the thing that says Coach What You Know. Coach What You Know is a 4-day challenge that I do where I help people frame out a coaching program that can be worth $10,000 or more. In Coach What You Know, I teach you specifically how to create a framework that is repeatable and desirable to your clients. So if you're listening to this and you feel like your framework is the problem and you don't really know how to adjust it to make it repeatable to people, click the link in my description next to Coach What You Know and sign up for the waitlist so that you will be the first one notified when the next challenge is available. But If you do have a repeatable framework, the next thing that you can do is evaluate the resources that is required for them to successfully achieve this framework. Sometimes programs fail, and it's not because of the client, it's not because of the framework, but it's because it's too many resources that is needed in order to execute the framework. So for example, when I first got into the coaching industry, I signed up for a course that cost $1,200, and this course was supposed to teach you how to create your own course and sell it to your own client. Now, when we first got into this course, I thought that it was going to be really easy to put together. But me and many of my fellow classmates learned very quickly that there was a lot of additional costs that was going to be needed in order to execute this person's framework. So you needed $99 for an LLC. Then you needed another $99 for a virtual office. Then you needed $30 for this webinar platform that they needed. Then you needed like $200 a month for a course program. And it was just all these additional costs that was adding up. And so we had a community inside this program where me and my fellow classmates, we could talk and, ask questions to the host and also talk to each other. And one thing that I noticed in this community is a lot of people were venting their frustrations. They were talking about how they maxed out a credit card in order to invest in this course. They were talking about how they took their rent money and, they spent it on this course instead of paying their rent. And they wish that they would have known that they were going to have to need an extra $1,000 in order to execute this, because we already spent $1,200 simply to learn the framework. So what this showed me is that sometimes products don't work, and it's not because the framework is bad. It's not because the client isn't executing it properly, but it's because there's too many additional resources and too many additional costs that is needed in order for the client to actually execute this. So I want you to look at your framework and I want you to ask yourself, does this require a lot of extra money or a lot of extra resources that my client doesn't have? Because sometimes the resource isn't money. Sometimes the resource could be time. If your client or your target audience is a single mom who has, let's say, 2 kids and also works a full-time job, and your framework requires you to execute this 8 hours a day, that's a resource. Time is a resource that your client doesn't have. So look at the resources of things like time, people to help you, like a team, money, like all these different things. Does your framework require a bunch of resources that your client does not have access to? If so, I want you to do 3 different things, right? You can choose one of the 3. So number 1, I want you to ask yourself, how can I tweak my framework to make it where they need less resources and it's easier for them to execute? Number 2, how can I tweak my marketing and my sales page and my messaging where I'm upfront with them about these extra resources that is needed? So if your framework requires your client to have an extra $5,000, put that on your sales page and say that in the marketing so that they know upfront, okay, I can't afford this, right? Because yes, I can afford to pay for the program, but I don't have an extra $5,000 in order to actually execute the program, right? So be upfront with them about the resources that they need in order to pull this off. Or number 3, if your resource is something like a team or money, include that in their upfront payment. What do I mean by that? So if they need, let's say with money, an additional $5,000 in order to pull this off, and you're charging $2,500, then I want you to upsell your program to $7,500, right? Because now you're making your $2,500 profit, but you're already including the $5,000 additional that they need in order to execute the program. You can partner with the programs that you tell them to use, and you can try and get a contract where every time you make a sale, some of that money is paid for them to have that program. So now they don't have to worry about that, but you're including the cost with the price of the program so that they don't have to worry about any additional costs. And when it comes to things like them needing more time, right? Or them needing to have a lot of time in order to, pull this off, you can hire a team member that helps them in certain areas. You can do things like a done for you service and complete some tasks for them. Or you can give them templates that will help them save time so that they don't have to spend a lot of time trying to execute this. So Those are 3 things that you can do to make your resources more available to your client so that you don't have to get a lot of negative reviews. But regardless of what the problem is and how you go about solving it, remember that negative reviews does not mean that your program or your offer is a failure. Negative reviews is an opportunity for you to gain clarity and grow and shape your program and your offer to be desirable for your client. And the only way for you to do this is to stop giving up every time someone has something bad to say and start asking intentional questions so that you can understand how to tweak your offer and make it more stronger and make it more effective. And so that is all that I have for you today. But before we go, of course, I have an action step that I want you to do this week. So sometime this week, I want you to take one of your current programs or products and run it through a 3-step audit. Number 1, check the framework. Ask yourself, is it proven and repeatable? And could multiple people get these results consistently? Number 2, check the resources. List out every hidden cost, tool, or time commitment needed in order to execute this transformation. And ask yourself, are you being fully transparent about this, or is there a way that you can simplify it? And number 3, check your client's expectations. If someone has failed, meet with them, have a one-on-one call with them, and determine, was it because they didn't commit enough time or effort? If that turns out to be the case, write down clear expectations so that you can add it to your sales page or to your messaging when you market. But that is all that I have for you today. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure that you subscribe so that you get a notification every time a new episode is released. And also leave a comment and tell me how you are going to transform your product this week using negative reviews. But that is all that I have for you today, and I will see you next week.